Welcome to Southpod. I'm your host, John Yarian. We are coming to you from the Dig South Tech Summit. We're here, live on site at the 10-year anniversary edition. I'm excited to be joined by Jared Shaner from Trellis.
Thanks for having me. Good. Excited to be here. I'm a first timer, so
thrilling.
Getting a little exposure here. So.
Okay, well, we're glad you're here. I know you're fresh off the stage, but before we get into that, tell us a little bit about Trellis.
Yeah, Trellis is a digital transformation agency focused on e-commerce, so everything web strategy, web building, marketing, basically building online empires is what we're focused on.
Okay, that's right. Walk us through, not like in great detail, but what's the right kind of project for you guys? Because that sounded really holistic and broad.
Yeah.
What would be the elements of a typical project for y'all?
Yeah, so typically we're working with online retailers on the second or third or the fourth iteration of their website. They've hit sort of a critical mass where they've gained some brand recognition, but they're sort of ready for that period where they need to supercharge it. Generally, they're in the $25 to $100 million online range, and they're starting to need to integrate, how do I deal with 10 fulfillment centers all throughout the US, but I make it really easy for the customer so that they don't tell how complicated it is. It all seems easy.
Well, this sounds pretty distinct from what I'm more familiar with, which is a team that will build a beautiful Shopify website and leave the room if you talk about logistics or back-end integration. It sounds like you guys go a little bit deeper into the tech environment of the client. Is that accurate?
Exactly. Well, you touch on, so for Shopify, one of our best partners and being a great partner to us, I affectionately refer to us as the jailbreakers. So we work with those Shopify merchants who have had a great business and they've scaled it, and now they're hitting a point where they have complex business requirements. And as you mentioned, they have to deal with fulfillment, they have to deal with all kinds of different user groups. Maybe they're suddenly doing B2B and they're selling in Target, and they're like, well, how do I make sure I don't sell too much to Target, and then Mr. or Mrs. Smith can't end up getting their t-shirt because I sold it out. And I lose a customer. So we solve that, exactly.
Yeah, that's great. And you were on stage talking about digitization.
Yeah,
right?
It's a tough word.
I got it, I nailed it.
Yeah.
For folks listening or watching who weren't able to be here today, what was the big insight you wouldn't want to miss?
Yeah, I think it was from the other panelists, which is stressing the importance of how digitizing your business can improve process and really free up your most important sort of resource, which is your human capital, your people, to be able to focus on the big, hairy, audacious things and automate the boring stuff that probably is not fulfilling them.
Yeah, probably not. It's interesting, you mentioned, it sounds like you're engaging with brands that are a little bit further along. So they've had that kind of first or second website. They've already done that thing where the budget was too small or they made the bad decision. So there's probably a little bit more sophistication by the time they get to you.
Generally, maybe. Depending. I won't name names, but
what is the biggest misconception or myth you have to puncture by the time they've grown to a level where it would make sense to engage with Trellis?
I think that the biggest thing that they usually miss is the fact that they have to think about their entire organization. It's no longer a project delivered by an IT team or a marketing team or sales who really care about the numbers or the platform. Now they have to think about the implications for the people that keep the business, the lifeblood. So it's the people working in the stores, making sure that they're not overcomplicating and making that job more difficult. The people in the warehouses, making sure that whatever decisions they make with technology isn't making their life more miserable and or going to make the business less efficient. And usually they don't bring these people into sort of the conversation, which I think really holds folks back.
Yeah, for sure. The pandemic, I'm sure, had all kinds of effects. What I can't tell is, did that accelerate growth for you guys after a while, or something different?
Definitely accelerated. For the folks that were keen and were quick to sort of strike, I saw a lot of sort of David overtaking Goliath. Yep. The growth of folks being at home meant that number one, they cared a lot more about FIDO, so we saw a huge growth within the pet sector, beauty, and sort of pampering yourself, and all of that had to be online. But the important thing was that people also who are launching these brands need to keep in mind that you need to personalize and give the same kind of shopping experience as they sort of get if they were talking to John at the local LL Bean. It's personalize it to me. What do I care about? And make sure that's coming onto sort of the web.
Yep. Sitting here in the 10th anniversary edition of Dig South, I wonder, we go back 10 years for you, or in your work.
Yeah.
What's the biggest difference? What's the most surprising change over that decade time span?
10 years ago, the folks that were getting into e-commerce, which is our focus, were sort of the folks out on the island. They were the people taking greenfield opportunities and either going to be slaughtered or maybe we're going to have some small wins. But the internet has changed a lot as well. The way in which we look at our different screens, desktop, mobile, whatever it is, everyone shops from their phone now. So that's been sort of the biggest shift, is that e-commerce has to be focused on meeting people where they are today, which Instagram, Facebook, and I think a lot of those big Goliaths have adapted to that and have done a pretty good job to be able to sell to people based upon their interests.
I think even 10 years ago, even as recent as that, you had a pretty broad group of mid-sized retailers who thought of themselves as businesses that had a website versus the website being the business.
Right.
And now you really see brick and mortar as kind of an extension, right? It's planned in reaction to the primary digital business. Is that fair from your experience?
Definitely fair. I mean, a lot of the folks we work with still wouldn't be half the business they are today without their brick and mortar. But what we have seen sort of shift is the fact that the brand and sort of the brand identity online, offline should be unified. And that's one of the complex things we work on all the time, is something that seems easy, which is buy online and want to pick it up at my local retailer, but being able to sort of fulfill upon that, which is, I think, really important for folks, is that even if someone is used to shopping online, give them an excuse to go visit Jared or John at their local retail shop, so that there's an opportunity to build that sort of further sort of brand relationship.
Jared, where do we go to see some of your great work, learn more about your team?
Yep, you can check us out on all the social platforms, Trellis Commerce, trellis.co, and anywhere else. Next year, dig south, hopefully.
Right here. Jared, thank you very much.
No, I really appreciate it, John.